Okay, hey everybody. It has been years since my HH channel has heard about Zoe and her family. Any updates? I have notes written here. Like the first one is from January the 21st of what year? 2021. This is October 9, 2025. It's actually 3:57 p.m. And I'm going through a bunch of my, I really don't even know what you call them. I guess file, folder, binder, plastic or container, drawers. I have, how many of them? With those, the small ones, you know, that fit like a binder and just regular paper. I have, let's see, I have 6 of them. And 5 of them have 3 drawers in them. The other one has 4. Yeah, all for these things I've written over years and just never got to. Like this story about Zoe and her family. So let me get to this. I'm just going to read the notes. Okay, back then Lisa, who's 32, heard Chloe, who's 28, tell Zoe, which they're, Chloe and Zoe are twins. You know what, Nick, who was 40. Okay, so when Lisa heard Chloe tell Zoe about Nick having kidnapped their parents around 15 years ago, okay, she was leaving her, let's see, her yarn store for the day. So Lisa owns a yarn store, and she overheard them talking. Now, let's see, Zoe is her business manager. And Chloe's, like I said, Zoe's fraternal twin. I didn't say fraternal, but anyway, Zoe lives in an apartment above the store and is, and since she is from, oh my goodness, I really write really neat, but when I'm in a hurry, like when I'm writing a storyline or making notes, like I was a career student for over 20 years, while I was writing them, man, my hands were just flying. And then I go, okay, it's neat, but it's still some of them. Okay, so since they were born in the town called the Outlaws, and they can't own property or rent property in the rest of the county, yeah, that's why she lives in an apartment above the store, so she doesn't have to drive so far, you see. And Lisa owns the store, and she's a very nice person. She's wealthy. Her family, Julie, and her, that's her mother, and her dad, Sherman, I believe. And I always get Julie and Julia. I'm not sure which one anymore. Which one is her name? Anyway, you know, they are wealthy, but not Zoe and her family. Anyway, you know, after Lisa heard this, she was freaked out because of Nick. She went home and told her parents, who were both members, as she had learned, and descendants, okay? Descendants of the county and members of the secret group that the county has. Everybody at some point takes any of the descendants, and some of the, I think they're making it to where all the people who are in the high tech, they take these, they don't have to, but they do. They take them classes where they can be like investigators. They can be in some form, shape, form, fashion in with law and law enforcement, and it's their choice. So, okay, and so much there is in a need-to-know basis, and so that's why she really didn't know. But both of her parents were investigators. Now they're very wealthy, and her mother is like, her mother actually had owned the yarn store and sold it to her. She wouldn't let her mother give it to her. She wanted to buy it with her own money, so she did. And so her mother is one of these people think of as very delicate, I guess. And they just don't think of her as someone who's working. They certainly don't think of someone like her as an investigator. Now her dad, yeah, you know, they could see it, but it's on a need-to-know basis. Not many people know. So, anyway, Lisa went home and told her parents, who were both members, like I said, they had been in the convoy with Grace back from the city. Now that's where they had been. Anyway, Jim, a man named Jim, he owns the enforcement. That's what they call it. And it's a big business. It goes up over many of the states in the United States. And but it's Texas. All these are in Texas, in Victorson County, Texas. Very, very wealthy county. But anyway, so Sherman and Julie were in this convoy that brought back a lot of the people from what they call the big city. In 2020, when they all wanted to return because the county was going to lock down, some of them wanted to return to, to protect their property, their inheritance. They were descendants of the original settlers. They had investments and such. And some, they just decided, no, this, the county has it right, has it going on. They're closing down in 2020. I'm not saying why, but they're closing it down, and they're shutting the whole county down. They don't do anything illegal, but some of it just kind of hints at it. Nobody has to stay there. Nobody. And they do. If they want to come in, they come in. They need to get there soon. That's back in 2020. And then they had these what they call rolling lockdowns, and they the only entrances in they blocked, and anybody coming in needed to say why, and they vetted them, and they said, you're going to stay in your own lockdown for 2 weeks. And people didn't push it. They were so wealthy. They were so invested in so much, this county. People didn't push it. Anyway. So then now after, Sherman and Julie called Jim, and Jim called Mitch, the sheriff. Okay. Now, to move on. The sheriff, Mitch. After hearing from Jim, Mitch told Jim that he would put Zoe's family, siblings and Zoe, into safe houses. And why wouldn't they have a new town that called Technology? And Jim agreed. This is good to put him in hiding. And Jim had been moving members around, so he moved Meg to Technology. I've got stories about Meg. And to go back to, I don't know how far back, at least 2020, maybe before then. Anyway, he moved Meg to Technology since she and Grace would be more involved in the investigation with Nick. Anyway, that was all that I wrote on that one. But then, now Zoe comes from a family that's quite dysfunctional. Okay, and you can probably see one reason why is that their parents were kidnapped by this man named Nick about 15 years ago. And it caused a lot of problems. But there still were a dysfunctional family. Like Chloe, she was always hateful and mean. She's always been hateful and mean to Zoe. But when all this happened and Zoe was there for her, it kind of clicked in her head. Family, that family, that doesn't always happen with families. Dysfunctional and so. But anyway, I had written on, oh boy, let's see, it was on February 6th of 2022. I'm having problems because my eyeglasses are kind of new, and I just got them earlier this year, a few months ago. And what are they doing with glasses? I've been wearing glasses for 52 years, and these are new, and it's just like, what's going on here? Really? What in the world? I gotta take them off, man. Anyway, so I'm gonna read some of these things. I wrote 7 things dysfunctional family parents. I had those words together, huh? What they can do, and this was Zoe and Chloe's dysfunctional family parents. Their parent before they were kidnapped, of course. And I have 7. It says, first one was take credit for your accomplishments. Say that they raised you right. Okay. I even write like this when I say you or your, when I don't mean you or your. So let's see, how else would you put it? Take credit for their accomplishments. Say that they raised them right. Doesn't sound the same, does it? Then there's infantilization. They treat them like they're much younger. Often treat them like they're a child when they're no longer a child. Then there's number 3, have a favorite child. Often people call that the golden child. And one thing some people don't seem to think about is the golden child in the family, did not choose that. Did not choose to be that. And that's a different form of abuse for that child. Okay? They need to think about that. A child has no choice in what their parents do to them. Quite often. Okay? So, let's see. Number 4, neglect their health and hygiene habits. Yeah, they don't train them right on how to present themselves, how to be hygienic in any way. Seriously. And their health, they hardly ever take them to the doctor unless they have to. You know, that kind of thing. And they might do this. Not all of them do this. And number 5, compare them to other siblings to bring about a competitive spirit. Always having kids against one another. You know, and that's what it boils down to. Oh, you better compete with your sister, your brother, you see. Compare their child or children, to those of, what the heck was this mean? To those of the siblings. You can compare, the cousins. Okay, let's see, 7. Never show positive emotion toward their kids. Yeah, I was on a kick then. So about dysfunctional families. And there certainly is. Okay. Dysfunctional. And like I said, I need to get rid of some of these notes. Let's see what else I have there. Let's see about Zoe and Chloe again. Because let me see. Okay. The rest of these should be better. I'm just getting rid of some of them that are, like I said, written in 2021 or so. You have to get those done. Anyway, this one, I didn't have a date on it. But it was about infantilization between, in Zoe and Chloe. Okay, it's Chloe, they're twins. Chloe's barely the older twin, the first one born. And she treated Zoe as though she were much younger. Infantilization. She couldn't separate from childhood. Let me see, I gotta take these glasses off again. Chloe wasn't wiser overall. She was just used to be rougher, used to rougher people because of her own personality. But when Chloe felt a threat to herself and her family, she ran to Zoe, like I said, to rescue and get advice. And I put explain infantilization, I already have. Anyway, I don't know. I was writing all these. I'm almost finished with this one. So let's see. I'm writing the date down. But yeah, I remember writing these. That was a few years ago, So, I do think that there are a lot of people, I wouldn't say most or all or any of that, I don't know. But when they have just truly dysfunctional families, they grow up with these people. So their siblings and all, and their family, their whole family, cousins, everything. Parents, grandparents. It's truly dysfunctional. Not just slightly. Some people say, all families are dysfunctional. They don't know all families. I always thought that when I was a kid. They don't know everybody. But anyway. I think many of them, I would say, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how many. But they some wish that their family would, their family member would finally see the light. But that really is the goal. Like if, I think should be at least. When people have a dysfunctional family, now there are exceptions, people that can be very bad. But the ones that they just, like, the family member may have a personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, narcissistic, personality disorder, maybe even antisocial personality disorder, whatever it is. And it causes them to just not be normal. And, if they don't have that, or where they are on the spectrum, whatever it is, where they could possibly one day say, hey, wait a minute, she was there for me when I needed her, or he was there for me, or why have I, not even have a benefit to it, just say, why have I been so horrible to my sibling? They didn't cause this. I think many of us, I'm one also, I'll admit it. Kind of wish at least one of them would wake up. It could be cousins. It could be, like I said, parents. It can be aunts, or some people call them aunts and uncles. Anybody, grandparents, whatever. Why can't they wake up? Well, there's a lot to that, but the goal, for some people, they want revenge. They want vengeance. No. I'm one who say the goal is, like that whole thing, hate the sin, love the sinner. It's tough, man. It's real tough. Because it's the sinner who's doing it. But the goal would be, instead of vengeance, is to be, wish they'd wake up, that kind of thing. So that, having something that happens to this, these two, where one of them, Chloe had always been that one, and she says, wait a minute now. They actually take a moment to think. I think that's a good thing. Anyway, I'm going to wrap that part up. I'll talk to you on another video. Okay, hey everybody. Now back on, let's see, I have notes written here. Back on July 3rd, 2021, I had written this, and it's changed over time. And the title was called At Work. Now the names kept changing. It went from Adam to Joshua to Jordan. No idea. And but Jordan. Let's land on Jordan. Jordan was one of those. Have you ever had a job and there was always that person? There's always that one, is the way I used to say. That just is annoying as you can imagine. It says things and does things. And whether you are, whatever level you are in comparison, you could be the manager, you could be a co-worker, colleague, whatever. They're just irritating. And they may have started work after you, before you, whatever it is. Jordan was the type. Like, in parentheses I don't know why I wrote 10 years. Maybe he said this for 10 years. I wrote it in quotations. It says, we've always done it this way. Somebody at work who, they always done it that one way. Well, guess what? These days and age, oh my goodness, not even now. It's been a while. My whole life. Things have changed so quickly. You really can't say we've always done it this way, and that should be firm in many things, not everything, but many things, because it just changes so quickly with computers. Oh my goodness. You can't. You couldn't. But like in some things, yeah. Some things they need that kind of protocol, that kind of set in stone practically. But if it involves computers, forget it. Okay. And I wrote such weird highlights on here. I don't know about this. Oh, let me see. Okay, I wrote, just do it without asking how to. Creates a lot of work. I don't know. Apples and oranges. I wrote, once told how to, they don't trust themselves to it. Daily, sloppy, illogical, sporadic. I don't know what that word is. And then on 8/10/21, IT guys, scripture coder. Huh? No, I still don't know what the notarytical. Oh my goodness. But anyway, then it goes into a story that I had changed the name to her name is Kiera, and I changed her husband's name to Jordan. So I put these two together, and I'm going to tell a story. Kiera is a sibling to two people. Okay, dude, why are you stopping behind my... Okay. I know you're not delivering here. I don't know what that is. But anyway. Kiera is Zoe and Chloe's, which are their twins. They're in their 20s back then. She's one of their siblings. And then she has her own little story to tell. And eventually I will. Oh my goodness, I'm going through all these folders and You know, what are these things called? Somebody tell me, please. They're containers, but they're for like binders and folders, paper, you know, that size. The drawers are. And I have 6 of them. 5 of them have 3 drawers. And they're big. They stand up. The other one has 4. I have all these binders and papers and stuff. Composition books in there. Then I have written all these notes I want to go through. Get them up to date. I have not since, like I said, it was 2021. I haven't found any yet. Some of them don't have dates on them, so I'm guessing they're 2020 or in before. So, but I haven't found any that had a date that was before then, so we'll see. Okay, I probably should add a little more to it. But basically, Jordan, he was the golden child of his family. And his family, he was the golden child. They just put the world, you know, made the world of him. But once he got married, they started to Kiera. Kiera was 40. Then I guess Jordan was probably 40. I didn't write down how old. But Kiera was 40 and 2022. Anyway, they just didn't value anybody but him. Okay. Anyway, yeah, and they were that kind of family that, you know, would cause trouble. You know, because they were stuck on him, like stuck in a way like he was the golden child. They didn't get much past the child part of it. You know, they still thought of him as in that way, as a child practically, and that his wife somehow, they saw her as like a playmate from school. Anyway, I'm going to have more to talk about on that, but I'm trying to do this in the order, and it's not easy, you know, the order that I had written it, because I learned that trying to catch up with all these plus do something that are current, oh my goodness, what a mess. Because think about it, all these years, 2020 and before, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. Oh, man. Yeah, you know, to tell them out of order, talk about getting all screwed up. I could see it. But anyway, I'm sitting out here and I'm looking and I'm noticing my legs, my ankles are getting swollen again. I'm in the house, they're fine. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to go in. I'll come out here later. I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.